For the all-new, all-singing, all-dancing Creator Town Hall here on Studio Live today, brought to you by our friends at BandLab. Yes, we'll be talking about BandLab a little bit later in the show, but if you want to check it out, it's a free online platform for recording, for collaborating, for mastering your music. It's super cool. You can check it out at the link above, studiolivetoday.com/BandLab. But I'm not here to rant on my own. I've got another old bloke from Australia to come in here and rant with me. So without any further ado, let's bring him on in. It is Mike from Creative Source. What's going on, mate?
Kids today, hey, kids today. Like, where do I start? And do you remember the old days when you went in the supermarket and you actually had someone to serve you in the supermarket? It wasn't a machine, yeah. And fuel, that was cheaper, wasn't it? Hey, fuel was much, much cheaper, my God. You could hear the words when people sung. Hey, you could understand what they were saying.
You could do all those things. Hello. if you liked that, that's a good taste of what you're going to get for about the next 50 minutes here, because we got a lot of topics to talk about. We're a couple of grumpy old men. We're going to be we've taken a break from yelling at clouds to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about DAWs. We're going to talk about musical expression. Is it dead? Is there any musical expression anymore, Mike? We'll discuss that and a whole bunch more. But we are interactive here, so we want to say g'day to the folks who are here live. If you do have a question, you can do that. Just put the word question at the start of your comment, and I'll throw all the hard questions over at Mike. He's the pro after all. He's the expert. He's got a few years on me, a bit more experience. So you can do that. G'day to the folks who are here live. Hello to Mark Bro. G'day Thomas Christ. G'day DJ Normal Norman. I love that. DJ Normal Norman's one of my favourite names in the community here. Omni Collective Creativity, the Mixed Club. There's one from over your way. One of your
What about the Mixed
moderators.
Club? Isn't the Mixed Club from me, or is that from you?
I think that's. I think he started over with you, and then it's come over. We've got a lot of crossover, mate. In fact, we should probably actually say, for those that don't know, they're like, "Oh, I'm used to seeing this old bloke on your channel, but who's this old bloke?" Why don't you tell people who you are and what you do, or what you at least pretend to do? Because let's be honest,
I am Mike. I am from Perth, Western Australia. I am a retired male stripper who. No, yeah, so Creative Source is about making music. It's about making music, and a lot of people on my channel make music with a DAW called a DAW called Cakewalk, and that's what we talk about over there. And recently, I was just speaking this week about musical expression and the methods that we use to express ourselves with music.
Yes,
and, whether some of them are being underutilized. Probably a little bit of a what do they call that? A clickbait thumbnail, in the sense of, is musical expression dead?
I do like that.
Dead?
Yeah,
are we killing musical expression?
I saw that and I'm like, what's going on with this? So why there's some emo people in my feed, and then I realised that's Mike. It's Mike. He's like, R.I.P. musical expression. Yeah,
it's a bit of a toss up always as a YouTuber. You don't want to be clickbaity. But then you do want a title and a thumbnail which kind of get people excited about the topic, right? Yeah. Where's the line there? I know this is not on your agenda, Pete Johns, your topic for the show.
We go off on tangents, mate.
We can do tangents, can't we? Oh,
absolutely.
Think of math at school. Do you remember math at school? Oh, God, tangents.
Oh, you remember the scientific calculators? I never knew what the cos and the sin buttons were for, but I like pressing the sin button a lot.
You haven't quite got teenagers, have you? Oh, you should see the scientific calculators they have to buy today.
They're insane. They've got giant screens, don't they?
They do save up for this, mate, because back in my day, you just a little display it had. Now they've got coloured giant screens with graphs and things on them, and you absolutely have to have them to do math at school these days, apparently. But back in my day.
Back in your day, didn't you have to ride your bike 14 miles through snow to get to your school back in your day, Mike?
Do you remember that story? Do you? That was one of my. I did have to do that, but one of my first jobs was in a music store. I worked in a musical instrument store when I left school.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to work one day because there was 6 feet of snow, and I was at my girlfriend's house the night before, which was like 20 miles away. And I just didn't go to work. And I got like a verbal warning the next day,
Ooh.
just saying you should have just walked in the snow to get to work. This is no excuse, right?
Well, so someone really needed to buy that ukulele, Mike, and you let them down. And don't like it. Uphill both ways, absolutely, Thomas, absolutely. This is an example, by the way. If you're not in for this, if you listen to this first 5 minutes and you're like, these two are just ranting fools, then you might not want to hang around, because we like to have a lot of fun. We like to talk about a lot of topics, and we're going to go off on some weirder tangents than that, I can assure you.
We can be serious.
Let's be very serious now about
Let's do it.
the serious topic of choosing a DAW. Now, for those, I mean, most people watching will know a DAW, a DAW, is a digital audio workstation. It's what we use on our phones and our tablets and our Macs and our PCs now to record our music. And you've gone on a bit of a journey. I know you are now the Cakewalk guy. You did use Studio One for a long time. You've used a bunch of different DAWs. For someone that's starting out, what do they need to think about when they're choosing their first DAW? And more importantly, does it even bloody matter?
So the first thing I would say is that I'm still Studio One user. No, I don't just use Cakewalk. I use Studio One. And it sort of depends on the projects that I'm doing and that. I still have Pro Tools installed as well, which I never use.
Do you still pay a subscription, or you got an old version that's like a full?
No, somebody gave me just like an ongoing. They just gave it to me, but that's terrible, isn't it? I feel like it's such. I was going to say it's white privilege, but how stupid is that? It's got nothing to do with being white, but yeah, it's a bit of a privileged situation as well. So, despite the fact I got it for free, I'm going to say it. I hate it.
Oh, them's fighting words. Luckily, you got a garage band, Logic, and Cakewalk crowd here, because everyone's going to be like, bloody Pro Tools, get out the torches.
I know. I think that if I was to say that my Cakewalk users, I call them walkers on my awesome Facebook page. By the way, they're called walkers, right? Yeah. And I think yesterday somebody established on my Facebook page that we should call Cubase users basses. Basses, right? Yeah.
Basses,
okay. So that makes Pro Tools users tools.
You heard it here first. Luckily, this show is sponsored by BandLab, who make a Cakewalk, and not by Avid, who make Pro Tools, because I don't think an Avid sponsorship's coming either of our way anytime soon.
No, I can't stand Avid. I can't stand Avid. I can't stand Pro Tools, and I can't stand their video creator platform as well.
That was my first. I used Avid Studio, like the prosumer version was my first my first video editor before I went to Premiere Pro, and now everything in LumaFusion on my iPad and iPhone. But yeah, it was the clunkiest, most broken thing. It would just you'd render and you get about a 1 out of 4 success rate to render. You'd just get a random error and some weird executable file could not be found halfway through anyway.
They're determined to stick to some sort of subscription model for their video stuff and anyway, what do you look for in a DAW? Look, God, this is such a cliche answer, but unfortunately it's true. You've just got to choose the DAW which is right for you. There's lots of sort of demo versions that you can try out from the different companies if they're not free.
Yep.
So me and you both use free DAWs, so it's very easy to try it out. Others are mostly paid, but it's worth giving them a little go. I'm going to say this. I reckon you'll get a sense within the first 30 minutes to an hour whether it's going to gel with you in general. We all like different things. We like different style interfaces and what have you. I hear some people say that FL Studio is toy-like. They don't like it because it's toy-like. I think it's awesome. I love FL Studio's interface. I think it's really nice. But for me, it's if you're creating a certain type of music, FL Studio is good. Do you remember the trackers, Pete, back in the day?
We probably
talked about trackers
love
before.
Trackers.
Love trackers. So I feel like FL Studio has got a bit of a tracker heritage to it. It's about patterns and looping patterns, and I think it's cool. I love it. I think it's a really nice DAW.
Yeah, no, it's,
All
and
of
I
the
think
others are about the same.
yeah. Oh, it literally is. Like you tend to people get very excited and very particular about what they want to use, and it really just comes down to trying things out. I think when I first started creating, there really wasn't a good free DAW, especially on PC. Before the Cakewalk by BandLab days, you had to try something different on the PC. You had to pay for something, and I paid for Cakewalk Music Creator version 6, which was good, did the job when I first started. But yeah, but these days you got Reaper, which you can try for free and basically use for free forever. I think someone asked about Reaper there. I used to use
Yes.
Reaper. That works really well on PC and Mac. You got
And
Cakewalk by
Reason.
BandLab. Reason as well is another one there. You got
Very
Ableton.
popular.
A lot of people that
Yeah.
like that loop based and that sequencer based use Ableton and Ableton Live and a lot of the gear for
Yep.
that. So I think you're right. I think it's just about trying it out and finding it. Do you think people should consider or when do you think people should consider switching DAWs? Are you someone that thinks that yeah, it's a good idea to try a bunch of different things, or once you find something that works for you, do you reckon you stick to it?
So there's one thing which is important about any software you use, and that is the community behind it, the support, and all that kind of thing. I
Yeah.
think it's really, really important. So the reason why I started using Studio One at all was because there was a stage where I thought Cakewalk's dying. You know, for those of you who don't know, Cakewalk has been owned by several people over the years, but the previous sort of big company that it was owned by was Gibson, and Gibson probably had kind of little interest in it to a degree. And then when they had their financial woes a few years back, then Cakewalk was cut off their list, and there was a feeling of, you know, this is not going to be supported anymore.
Yeah.
So I started using Studio One at that time because I thought Cakewalk was over. And then BandLab, your sponsor, got hold of it and made it free. And that made me think, I wonder what they're doing with it now that it's free. So that's how I end up using two DAWs as well. But yeah, I think that would be an important consideration. If you're using a DAW which is really, really good, but doesn't have much of a community, and there are some little DAWs out there that we don't talk about much. And by the looks of the screenshots and their web pages, when I've got that's as far as I've got with a couple of them. I think, that could be all right, you know. But it's like,
I must admit that's the one thing, and you talked communities, and we'll talk a bit more about communities a bit later as well. But your community there, the Cakewalk by BandLab group, I don't know what you've done. I don't know who you've paid to get 4.9 thousand members in about 6 months, but that group has grown quicker than any group. I mean, the GarageBand users group that I'm a part of, we've got 13,000 members, but that's over 6 years old, and your group is quite new, but it seems to be the place for Cakewalk, and I think that says. I mean, I don't like to give you compliments, as you know, it's not not in my nature, but it does say a lot about you and your ability to create a community, because, and we'll talk a bit later about sort of toxicity in communities, but I've definitely seen some DAWs where you go into the users group forum, and it's basically, I get the feeling that how do these people have any time to create music, because they're spending all their time telling other people how they should and shouldn't do things, and it just seems very clicky and very pros versus noobs, and I just don't like it. I don't get any of that sense in either GarageBand or
there was
your group.
a new YouTuber. I don't know his name, unfortunately. He was in the recording studio zone a few weeks back, and he made a little video about toxicity.
Yes, I saw that actually.
Yeah, I thought it was a good video, and I thought he had some valid points to make. I mean, I just think more broadly, outside of music creation, like when there's all kinds of prejudice, you know, there's prejudice against gay people or people with different religions and what have you. And I think your internal opinion is fine. I mean, we all have opinions about things, but who really cares about your opinion at the end of the day? And why are you worried about people that have got nothing to do with you? Like, I get that you can look at someone's studio and go, well, that studio would be better if they had some room treatment. But why do you need to blast someone on the internet about that? Well, as soon as you do that, even if you're in the live chat, if you find yourself doing that, step away from the computer and just take a little look at yourself for a while. Because if you need to kind of put other people down in the process of this, I think you've got troubles.
And it's true and it's cliched, and I know I say this a lot, and you probably agree. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but yeah, when you get these people online that are toxic, that are bullies, that are actually like degrading other people, I'll go as far as saying that, says more about them than it says about the people they're talking about. And unfortunately, a lot of the impact is on those that are vulnerable. And my pet peeve in anything, but especially in music, is people bullying or putting people down that are already vulnerable, and people starting out in music, people starting to create music, especially those in our communities using GarageBand or BandLab or Logic or these sort of platforms. They are quite vulnerable because sharing your music for the first time is one of the hardest things you're going to do, because you're basically putting your heart and soul out there in front of people and saying, here, judge me. I'm putting everything out there and judge me. And when people have those harsh criticisms that are unfounded and unnecessary, then it really does piss me off. It's almost like
I'll do a little reverse put down for them. I'll do it. I have fantasies about how I would put people down. I don't do it, but I have fantasies about it. I lay in bed and think, I should have said that to them. I should have said that in the comments. No. But here's the river. If you landed on this earth, right? If you landed on this earth with a full studio, with the awesome monitors and all great gear, with the best guitars and the best microphones and the best room treatment, and you landed with all that gear, what a wanker you are. Hey, I bet your songwriting's about nothing. Oh, mum and daddy gave me some nice gear. You know, you started, right? The cool people started off, the really cool people started off with nothing and made great music out of it. I don't like it. And also, by the way, no one landed on this earth knowing how to do everything in their DAW and knowing all about compression and sidechain this. And you know, don't get me started.
No, I know. And that's the thing. And I think as soon as you think you know everything, then you kind of know nothing. And then you have to sort of look at yourself, because if you're not learning something new, I learn something new every friggin' day, if not every hour. So I don't know how people think that they know better than everyone about everything. It's a little bit nuts. We will move on to another topic, but we've got to hear from our sponsor here, because we've got the wonderful BandLab sponsoring the show here today.
I swore.
I don't think so. Not yet. I think I said. Yeah, I don't know. But whatever it wasn't an F or a C bomb, so I think we're okay. Wanker. I think wanker's okay, especially here in Australia. Just wanted to make sure. Just make sure that we've got there.
There's no lights flashing, so it must be fine to say wanker.
I didn't pay Ciaz to put this as a good segue here, but I don't have the best or high spec laptop. Which DAW should I get? Now, one DAW that I've just recently tried is, of course, BandLab, which is an online DAW. Now, for those that don't know, or that are going to quickly poo-poo this and go, how can you create music in your browser? How's that going to work? I was actually surprisingly impressed. And yet, look, they are a sponsor, but I created an entire song. Entire song. I created an 8-bar song. But I did a demo here right in BandLab. And it is pretty amazing that you can be in your Chrome browser, your Safari browser, your mobile browser, and it just works everywhere. And when you think this, people are like, oh, yeah, I've tried those things. You know, you just press record and it does things. But the mix editor, and Cakewalk users will be pretty familiar with this, but the mix editor that you have here in BandLab is actually pretty darn cool. It's got a lot of options in here. You can actually come in here and you can add tracks. Oh, we've got a weird audio thing there when it loads up in the browser. You can add tracks in here. You've got a whole bunch of different effects that you can add in here. You've got all the presets. You've got all of the options that you would have in any sort of other entry-level DAW. And the question there of saying, if I'm starting out, what can I use? This is not only free, but this requires zero gear. It requires zero software. You could literally go to studiolive today.com/bandlab now, sign up, and within 5 minutes, don't do it now, watch the rest of the show, but in 5 minutes, you could be in here creating music. And even for those that are like, well, I'm a GarageBand user, I'm a Cakewalk user, why would I want to use this? This track that you're seeing here now, I've actually just used the free mastering in BandLab to master this. This is an acoustic version of a song, to master my song, and then release it. So if you don't want to spend a lot of time with mastering, and you've seen Lander and eMastered and things, BandLab actually have free mastering built right in here to their online platform. So it's definitely worth a look. Have you taken a look? I know you're busy with a lot of things with Studio One and with Cakewalk as well. Have you dabbled in BandLab at all, Mike?
I have, absolutely, yeah. I've done the same as you. I've recorded a bit of a song in there and tried it out, because even from within Cakewalk itself, we have some BandLab features where we can actually upload our tracks into a BandLab project and stuff like that. So, and I think you can do it the other way around as well, from memory.
Yeah.
I am, I reckon it's really, really good when I tried it out. I'm just, I'm talking about the Cakewalk integration here rather
Yeah.
than the BandLab service itself. I don't happen to use it much because I'm not that kind of user, but it's actually really good for collaboration as well. That's the thing about it. And I think that's the thing about it being online, which gives it that huge advantage, So,
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I'm finding a lot more because again, like you might say, I'm creating a Logic or GarageBand or Cakewalk. Why would I want to record into my browser? Well, you probably don't. But the cool thing is that even if you just want to collaborate with people, like one of the challenging things about collaborating is swapping files, is sharing wave files, is getting tracks to other people that they can record on. In BandLab, you can record in Cakewalk or GarageBand or Logic, and it's kind of platform agnostic because you can then just grab your wave file, throw your track if you're creating a beat or a backing track or a guitar solo or a drum beat or whatever it is, and then just get someone else to do it. And you can even just throw it out there. I know that Brad Example, who's here in the chat, he's done a lot of this where he just creates a track and then other people will come in and collaborate on it. You can invite other people to come and record directly on your track, and they can grab your track, throw it out to Cakewalk or to GarageBand, and then bring it back in and just start collaborating directly online. So it has a lot of very cool features. There's a free 4-part series that I've just done on my channel that you can check out. And like I say, if you want to check it out, studiolivetoday.com/bandlab is the place to go. Let's talk musical expression. Because your video this week was pretty inspiring. I was out for a walk and I was messaging you saying, "Hey, we're catching up." And I said, "You got someone for Fix My Mix this week?" And you're like, "No." And I'm like, "What about me?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'll come." So we were talking about this video that I was watching. And you were talking musical expression. So for those that haven't caught the video, and even those that have, what's the 30-second elevator pitch on this? What are you talking about, and what's your opinion on musical expression?
First of all, I don't think it's an old man's rant, and I was very conscious of that because I'm not into kind of modern music today is rubbish. It doesn't get you anywhere, and it supposes that if suddenly music was just like it was 30 years ago, that everything would be okay. And that's not true, because then we'd have to put up with endless Duran Duran revival tours, which that's not music moving forward. That's just music being static. And I love the idea of music moving forward. However, subjectively, but more subjectively, I was listening to Spotify. And look, first of all, Spotify Top 10 is not a representation of music on the planet. It's representation of mainstream music. So I was confined to talking about mainstream music. But I still found that ultimately there are a number of things that were not being used in anywhere in that top 10. So those things were key changes, odd time signatures or time signature changes, instrumental solos just gone, middle eights, sort of middle section. Some people call them bridges. I don't think they're bridges. I think middle eights and bridges are something very different. But anyway, I could have probably said bridges because essentially when I listened to this top 10, and I did a few times just to analyse it all, there was only verses and choruses. That was all. That was the only two kind of things in there, types of things. And the last thing, which is someone rightly pointed out to me, that all of the other things I mentioned were compositional tools, ways of expressing. Now, the other thing was tempo changes. And I'm talking about the fact that the bands, of course, when they played and recorded on tape, naturally, even without knowing it, had tempo changes as they got a little more excited. And I'm not talking about bad timing, of course, as well. I'm just talking about really natural flows of tempo. I don't know, in GarageBand, Pete, can you program in tempo changes, or do you just set a tempo for the whole track?
You can. GarageBand iOS doesn't have good tempo change or even time signature change support. GarageBand on Mac does have a tempo track. So you can actually program in a tempo track and tempo ramps and things. And Logic has everything. You can have multiple time signatures, multiple tempos and the work. So Cakewalk's totally flexible, isn't it? You can basically
totally
do
flexible.
Everything.
But at the end of the day, flexible or not, any DAW I've ever used, there's some effort required to then go in and go, I want it to speed up a little bit in the chorus and slow, and mostly people won't put in that effort. I think that's a fault of DAW design, but partly DAW design and partly people's laziness. Don't be lazy, folks. Create good music and don't be lazy. But the other thing is you don't have to do it like that. One of the methods that I've used for ages now is to start off by recording, say, my acoustic guitar part, which is normally the way I've written a song, and I'll just record it without using a metronome and let that part determine the tempo. Then I map the tempo to that. Now, you can either do it manually, and there's some automated features in some DAWs to do that. I like to do that. Then you get a very natural flow. So I generally find if I just sit and sing the song as well, because when you're singing and playing the guitar, by the way, at the same time, you will play the guitar a little bit differently, right, than when you just play the guitar by itself. So I like to do that, and then I map the tempo. Why would I do that? Because then when I'm adding things like virtual instruments, I still have all of those luxuries of doing things like copying and pasting sections, because those virtual instrument sections will adapt to that new tempo as I copy and paste them across. And what was the other thing? Well, I can take advantage of things like that. There was another reason to do that. I've forgotten it. But yeah, so it's really awesome. Anyway, it just means that you can take advantage of a DAW, being able to do those things, but still retain a tempo. There's a lot of effort, even in doing that. There's a lot of effort involved.
I think that's definitely the case, because for those that are old enough and grey enough to remember back in the tape days and 4-track recorders and that sort of thing, unless you were using a metronome, I don't think a lot of us used metronome. I definitely didn't. You would record down your part, and the same sort of thing. I was playing in a 3-piece sort of punky grunge band, and I would play my power chords of my guitar, and that would drive most of the songs, and then the drummer would kind of work out and play the groove to that, and then the bass player would sort of sync in with the drummer. So it kind of worked backwards with that to get that sound, and that meant that there were natural ramping of speeds. And I think you're right that the couple of things I've noticed in a lot of, especially a lot of DAW, so Cakewalk and Logic probably have a little bit more of an advantage, because they do have tempo tracks and they do have ability to change. Anything that is a loop based or a sequence based or sampler based platform is built for 4/4. And another thing you talked about was time signatures, which we'll get to in a sec. But they seem to be built for 4/4 and built for a grid that doesn't change. They're built for one tempo, and they're built for common time, for 4/4 time. Have you found that? Do you think that's causing all of these pop songs and popular songs to be just on the grid and in 4/4?
Yes, it's very much that, and that's the main gripe I had in my video. That was, you may as well not watch the video now, because I've really said it. But
watch the video, folks. Go watch it.
No, here's the thing: is I reckon if I went to my teenage kids and I said, "Hey, what do you think about this song? What do you think about instrumental solos?" They would go, "It's a bit boring, that bit," Or if I said key changes, and they may, but nobody anywhere says, "Oh, I hate it when a song speeds up a little bit."
Yeah,
subconsciously, but no one says, "Or I hate it when it's slow," because this is a subtle thing that the listener won't notice, but they will feel it, right? They will feel it as an emotional thing in the song. So we're not doing it because listeners don't want it anymore. No one ever said, "Oh, we hate it when." We're not doing it because it's difficult to do with the technology, which means the technology is driving our art rather than vice versa. That's very, very poor, in my opinion, and that's why I've got a beef about it, and I'll continue to have a beef about it until someone fixes the situation. No, it's up to us to fix it. We've got to make music which has those things in and stop being lazy. Pete Johns.
I agree with you. We do, and it's weird. Like one of my favorite time signatures is a 6/8 time signature, or you mentioned like a 12/8 kind of time signature as well. But just the ability to have that. But again, I think so many people are using so much loop based stuff these days and virtual drummers. And I don't know if you've used virtual drummers, but they don't seem to do as well in 6/8 or 3/4 or any other time signature than 4/4. Virtual drummers are built for that, really.
It's not just that. It's not just that. I guess that also that people don't really take time to learn about these things. I mean, honestly, I don't want to be rude to anyone, but people go, "Oh, music theory." Look, learning about time signatures is not rocket science. If you can do like basic math, you can learn about it. Are you interested? I hear people all the time saying, "I love music. Music's my life. Music's my passion." Would you learn a little bit about it then? Just a little bit? Is that too I'm being horrible now, and I've offended people. But I just think it's not that hard, and it may be somewhat interesting as well. But the thing about it is that the DAWs don't lend themselves to it. But look, I don't mind the idea. Look, let's face it, 7/8, for example. It's never a popular time signature, even for old men like us, And I'm not advocating that should be in there, but just little basics, like I mentioned in the video, 12/8, which sounds complicated, but actually is a very, very common time signature. Gives a little bit of a shuffle. Great for blues and things like that. It's completely absent in the current top 10 in Australia. I did check the American one, and there was one song which was in 12/8 in there. But unfortunately, in the American top 10 at the moment, 6 of the 10 songs are by one artist as well. Sorry, I'm going to go off on another rant now. The variation in it. All right, so if I maybe someone should do this, but pick a top 10 randomly for a week in 1980 or something. And what you'll find is, maybe a rock song, a pop song, a country-based song, some weird. Who was I thought of an example of terrible music from years ago. There was someone in the UK called Des O'Connor. I don't know if Des O'Connor ever made it. Yeah, dreadful. Cliff Richard. I'm sorry if Cliff Richard fans. No.
So I'm wired for sound. What are you talking about? Love
so, but there was this mixture of, and there was one thing I don't miss, and I showed some clips, is the old gimmick songs. Probably the last one was that frog song. What was it was
the Crazy Frog one. Like
Crazy Frog, exactly right. I don't miss, but the fact is, the point of what I'm trying to say is that you had variations of genres of music as well in the top 10. Now it's not. It's hip hop, R&B, and pop. That's the two genres that you get if you listen to the mainstream now. And I love myself a bit of R&B, hip hop, and what have you. And I've got a great admiration for pop as well. But you can have too much of a good thing. I don't mind a bit of variation too.
You can, and look, we're not saying any of this. It sounds like I think you started this by saying this isn't an old man rant, and then I think
it
we
sounds
both
like
went on an old man rant, doesn't it? Yeah, but the actual video is, but when Mike's not live, when he's got time to consider himself, he comes across a lot less like an old man ranting.
So no, but the point. Well, let me address that though.
Yeah,
the fact is that this is the mainstream out there. For example, my son exposes me to an awful lot of rap and hip hop. And outside of the mainstream, there's some really, we talk about rhythms, for example, there's some really interesting things go on rhythmically in, for example, rap songs, little offbeats, little, things like that do go on. Somebody put one on a rap song on my Facebook page the other day. It was awesome. It was really, really good. It had a little 10/4 thing going on, which was just very, very cool. So look, it's out there. You've just got to go and look for it. I think it's wonderful. And on my show today, after this show.
Oh yeah, good segue. Let's talk about that because if you're not familiar, Fix My Mix is coming up straight after this one in less than 30 minutes, and I'll be a guest over on Mike's show. So yes, what have we got in store?
Well, the very first song on there is a hip hop pop song. Or hip hop rap pop song. It crosses genres. And we've got a rock song over there, which I know is going to be right down your street.
Oh yeah,
Pete. But it's got no lyrics on it. It's got no vocals on it.
I mean, I get to sing along.
So I think you should sing along. I think you should ad-lib. Yeah, and the other one's a Danish song. And there's not enough Danish songs in the world, is there? Let's face it.
Oh, I'm getting hungry.
That was
the
other thing with the Spotify top 10. Not enough Danish music in there. None to be seen.
No Des O'Connor, no Danish music. I love it. We'll talk. There's a couple of other things that you mentioned here. One was guitar. Well, you said instrumental solos and guitar solos. Although you did mention, and one thing that I'm really happy about, I've been listening to a lot of 80s music lately, a lot of old NXS and stuff, and Crowded House, and man, the saxophone was big. I didn't remember how much the saxophone played almost every break, every solo, every bridge section. There was always a saxophone solo in there. So, but yeah, mostly guitar solos. So what is it just that people are gonna tap away or click away when they hear a solo? Like you're saying, your kids listen to it and they're like, oh, instrumental. When once the hook goes away.
That was a hypothetical example, which is
Okay.
not true. I think the funny thing is, for example, my son, who's into all this hip hop and stuff, he's in the shower the other day and there's some music blasting out. And me and Susie were going to my daughter Grace. We were going, "What's that?" And she was saying, "Oh, it's this theme tune from Dragon Ball Z." And I'm listening to this, right? And it's like a 30-minute long piece of music. There's no lyrics in there. It's completely instrumental. There's all kinds of things going on in there. Fascinating, right? My point being is that children or the younger generation are not really walking around going, "Oh, we don't like interesting things in music." Not at all. They're just being, I think that the industry is assuming that of them, but no.
Yeah.
Human beings haven't changed that much in the last 20 or 30 years. They're just as capable of appreciating variations in music as we are. They're just being fed this bog standard fast food music. And so instrumental solos, I just think it's when I listen to the music, the impression it gives me is if this egotistical singer who just won't shut the hell up for a moment and let someone else speak, right? So that's my impression of the music. I think, give me a break. I just want to hear some other thing,
something different,
apart from their opinion about their whole.
Oh, it's all going downhill. I think it's a good time to reset and move on. But I did want to ask if you're watching here live or if you're watching on the replay. If you're watching here live, let us know in the chat right now. But is musical expression dead? Do you think that we need some change? Would you like to see some change? I think it's all right. It's not. Spoiler alert, it's not. That was just clickbait. But people might agree with you. You might get this revolution started now, Mike, where everyone's behind you. They're like, yeah, we're behind Creative Source.
No, in my defense, I didn't say it was dead. I asked the question, is it dead?
That's what we as YouTubers do. That's why we always have this face.
Yeah, we go, is it?
Because they're like, just put a question mark at the end of a title and then you don't have to stand by any of your opinions. It's perfect. Welcome. Thank you for being here, Mike. Thank you. If you want to check out Mike's channel, it's linked down in the description. And we are brought to you today by the wonderful BandLab. So you can check out BandLab at studiolivetoday.com/BandLab if you want to check it out. And again, I've got my 4-part video series linked down in the description as well. Let's talk about a couple of other topics. Got about 15 minutes left here to chat, Mike. You mentioned in your video, you talked about TikTok, and I saw something the other day that YouTube Shorts is up 400% in the last quarter. Like people are watching short videos, and you and I don't make very short videos. We do live streams, and we do probably longer, what would be called long form. It used to be called sort of just content. Now our 15 and 10 and 20-minute videos are long form content. Yeah. What do you think is driving the short video thing? Are you into it? Where do you see it going in the next couple of years?
Good luck to everyone who does it. Me and all my YouTuber buddies over the last couple of years at some point have said to me, "You need to do shorts. You need to do shorts." And I think I made one, and I was like, "Meh." I was not into it. I'm a long form person, as you can probably hear. I like to waffle on for hours and hours, and no, it's not. I think you've got to be aware of people's attention spans. But I think it's great if people do it. I don't do it, and I've got no ambitions to do it. It's not a thing for me. It's like an advert for me. It's just an advert. Let's face it, that's how people use it. But then again, when you look at TikTok, when it used to be Musically and all that, it always had that format. And I get that. Like, I've had it. I don't have it now installed on my phone, but I've had it, and just flick through. It keeps you entertained, doesn't it? It's okay. But a lot of I'll give you an example of a piece of music which my kids were getting into a few months ago. They were listening to Ra Ra Rasputin from
the old Boney M.
That was big. And I said, well, how come you guys are into that song? And they were, it's on TikTok. Everyone's doing it on TikTok, right? And that was the main one that gave me this thought that if I had, which I never would have, of course, if I had said to them 6 months before that, hey guys, have a because Well, let me retract. We have this thing in the car. We drive along in the car and we take turns on Spotify to listen to a song. Right?
Got it.
It's a really good experience, actually,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you get to listen to your music, but you have to listen to someone else's music, right? You have to. It's the rule. It's
Ah.
actually good for me,
Yeah,
even
yeah, I
for
like
me,
it.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's very good. So I get kept up to date with things. But anyway, if I had said to them 6 months before, hey, let's listen to Ra Ra Rasputin by Boney M., I swear they would have been on their phones going, is this one finished yet, Dad? When's my song on, right? But because TikTok told them it was great, they thought it was great. They thought it was wonderful. I don't mind that. I think it's awesome. If
Yeah.
that's the way they're going to discover it, then that's fine. I got no beef against TikTok. I mean,
Yeah, it's a hard one because and look, I'm a true believer in consenting adults that want to do a thing that doesn't impact any other people.
you're
Go
right.
your absolute hardest. Like just do what makes you happy. As long as you're not bringing anyone else down or being hateful or bullying anyone
Sure.
else, whatever it is, you do you. But I think the only challenge I have having children, like you mentioned, you got teenagers, I got preteen kids, is that it is driving this. And look, the attention span is what a lot of people in the chat are saying, and what I have challenged with that. Again, is this just an old guy saying, hey, you should sit down and watch a 20-minute video instead of watching 21-minute videos? Is there really any difference? Or is it actually dangerous? Is it like a dopamine hit that's going over and over again that drives addiction and that drives poor attention spans and means that they can't focus and concentrate? I don't know. I think that the jury's out. There hasn't been enough research into it yet, and maybe that's just me defending because I let my children do it sometimes and I feel bad about it. But I don't know. I think that the market is the market is the market, and as much as you might say I don't like it when the top 10 is all rap and hip hop and R&B, and I don't like it. I mean, I'm not saying you said that, but if people say I don't like it when short videos are dominating the world because I like longer form and live, I think it just means that that's the mainstream. And I mean, the mainstream is what it is, and you can like it or not like it. I don't like a lot of things that are on mainstream TV. I think mainstream
I
TV is
think
terrible.
you got to work with it. You just got to go with what's. You be the change you seek. Isn't that what Gandhi said? I mean, if you think that everyone should be into long form stuff, then make long form stuff and make it amazing, so that things change. But I think I'm not bothered by it if other people want to do it. I'm not bothered by it, but I just find in terms of my own expression, I think there's some things which just can't be said in a hurry, where people need to stop and take stock and listen to a little more detail. I think it's really important. Some people probably don't like my channel because I do sometimes 25, 30, 40-minute videos. If I think that's how long it takes to do that. Now, that doesn't mean you get to waffle and waste people's time, right? And this is the same with music, by the way. And we talk about this a lot in Fix My Mix and Featured Artists Live when I was doing that show. I think it's fine if a song is 6 minutes long, as long as it's engaging for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Right, that's it's not about length. It's got nothing to do with length. If it's boring for 3 minutes, then it's boring for 3 minutes. I mean, it's just that, and it's the same. Whether you're doing what we do, chatting with people, or
it's the same. Like we both do live shows and as well as medium to long form content. But if you heard the discussions Mike and I have behind the scenes, it's about what can we remove? How can we get to the point quicker? How can we reduce the amount of waffle that we put in those videos? And if you look at a Mike or a Pete video from a year ago and then watch one from last week, you'll see that we had these elaborate intros, we had these graphics going on, we had these big introductions. We told you to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell and do all the things. Whereas now we're like, here's the content. We just hit you in the face with it because we're competing against this stuff, against short videos. So if someone puts out a 1-minute video that tells you how to do something and we got a 20-minute video, that better be the most packed full 20 minutes of content that you can possibly put together, because otherwise if someone just after a quick answer, where are they going to go to? They're going to go to a short video. And I guess it's the same for music, exactly as you said. All the things you talked about before about musical expression, which I don't think is dead, it's just it's just dormant, it's just in hibernation, it's coming back soon.
It's just different ways. I probably should have said in the videos that there are different ways that people are expressing themselves now, and there's elements to modern music which are so much better than older music. I mean, if I was going to get technical about it, the low end, for example, the low end of modern music is so much better than the low end of music. things that we thought were really kicking in the low end 30 years ago, we're doing nothing compared to now. And, the thump of it now down the low end and the control we have over is just really, really good. And as I say, certain ways of expressing people express themselves now. I mean, people do some very, very exciting things in music now. There's a lot more excitement in it sometimes than sometimes there used to be. But I do think that, so when I was talking about the idea of don't waste people's time, so don't have dead space in your creativity, for example, in your music. But don't confuse that with everything has to be immediate. I heard a great big YouTuber say a little while ago, you must get to the chorus within 30 seconds these days or else no one wants to buy your music. I think that's a sad and sorry way to think about music creation. I think that if you had a long intro to your song, which built up a mood before the vocalist came in and created a scene, just like an overture would in classical music, then that's very wonderful, and that's that's what's needed, and I think that's what you should do, and you shouldn't be thinking, the industry says I shouldn't do that.
There's so much of that has been popular and even still is popular. I mean, I'm going back a bit, but someone like Fatboy Slim back in the 90s, like a track like Right Here, Right Now, that built up for about 2 minutes. And then when it drops, when it actually gets to the Right Here, Right Now, you're just like, then it kicks in. But I think there's a lot of examples of that these days where there's almost this counter. And look, whenever there's a culture, there'll be a counterculture. So you don't have to worry too much because eventually everyone will get over this, and then the cool kids will actually be doing the exact opposite. So
they already do anyway, to a degree. I mean, it's particularly now. I think that they're often at an age, say 12, 11 or 12 or something like that, where Justin Bieber is, awesome. By the time they get to 14, they're like, Justin Bieber's so uncool. You know what I mean? They're just going through a little bit earlier now. That's my observation with my sample group of two. But it's very scientific.
I do love it when you've got
Pete Johns. I was thinking. I was thinking, what was the last long form song that was big in the charts? Right. I've got one in my head, and I know that you'll love it. I know it's a song that I reckon you love, but let's see if it's the same for you as it's the same for me. I'm talking about songs which are, say, 6 minutes long.
Was it Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf? I'm pretty sure that was a pretty long one. Oh, wait, that was a while back, wasn't it?
that was really a long time ago, wasn't it? That was a long time.
I honestly can't think. Nothing's coming to mind that's been super. I mean, a lot of stuff I listen to a lot of Tool, and Tool have very long songs which are very engaging.
No, I'm talking about it must have
mainstream.
Must have been the top 10 somewhere. Yeah.
Ooh, Despacito by Justin Bieber. I'm pretty sure that was a good
that
4
went
10.
on for such a long time. Yeah.
No, I'm intrigued now, Mike. What do you got? What is?
No, well, the last one that I remember, and it's not very recent, but I remember it clearly in the UK when I lived there. Now that gives you a bit of a clue.
Ooh, okay,
how long
so
ago.
a while
It was
back.
Paranoid Android by Radiohead. Now that reached number 2 in the UK charts.
Yep.
And it was big at the time. And what I thought to myself, well, how did they get away with it? I mean, how did they get away with it? But when you listen to it, of course, it's really you're getting 3 songs in one.
Yeah.
It's more like a medley.
the Bohemian Rhapsody technique of just doing a bunch of genres and a bunch of different songs all in one and just bridging them together somehow, which is good. And I mentioned Tool. Tool do a very similar thing, and I think that the old prog rock kind of thing was all about that. That's why you had different time signatures and why you had changes, and it all goes back to what you talked about before. So people should go and check out Mike's video and learn all about musical expression.
It's a short video. It's quite a short video, by the way.
It is, ironically. It's quite short. It's shorter than the rant you had to listen to with us here now. Your show is coming. We got a bunch of more topics we could talk about, but there's one more thing I wanted to touch on here in the last 5 minutes before we jump off, and that is music competitions. I got into There was a really interesting debate on a different Facebook group this week, an Adelaide Musicians Facebook group, about things like The Voice and things like Australia's Got Talent and Idols and all these sort of shows. And the question, and again, I'll throw this out here for the final thing that we'll ask, but should music, Mike, ever be a competition? I asked my wife this last night, and she's like, no, music should never be a competition. It doesn't make sense. It's an expression. It's a form of art. It's like saying, should art be a competition? And then I'm like, well, actually, there are art competitions all the time. But what is your view on that? Should music be a competition?
My view on this is I don't sit on the fence on this one. My view is that music competitions are for people who don't understand music or are not comfortable with ambiguity. So people who follow, for example, sport, when the team wins the grand final, the reason they won the grand final was mathematically and consistently, they were just better at what they do. Now, maybe people could argue that they get away, but ultimately with sport, it works out because it's a quantifiable thing that you're looking at. Music is not quantifiable. Musical opinion is, if you say this band is the best band in the world, they are, without doubt, for you, right? But there's no way to quantify. Some people don't live well with ambiguity. They don't like it. It doesn't sit well with them. So then they need to go, oh, well, this band is better because they got more votes. One of the saddest things I ever heard from one of my musician friends, who's a fantastic and wonderful writer and guitar player. You've been on a show with him, Brian Henderson Ward. He goes by the name of Jack Dog. His brother, may he rest in peace, was not really a music person. It wasn't him, and he couldn't. He would. I remember he said to Brian once, "Well, I don't know much about music, but obviously you're not very good at it." And Brian said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you haven't been successful. You haven't sold lots of records, so that means you're not good at it." Music just doesn't work like that. It just does not work like that. We all, as musicians, we all know some of the most incredible musicians in the world that we've been in bands with and what have you, and that we've seen in local bars and what have you, and they haven't made money or been successful. So music competitions are a way of trying to quantify something which can't be quantified, and they're rigged as well. So, but I want to say this quickly, because I spent freaking hours and hours yesterday doing an interview with a band, which was a pre-recorded interview. I did a proper job of it, thanks to Jade Starr for the advice on this, the technical advice. And they were number 2 in America's Got Talent 8 years ago now. They went on to have had a music career since then, so that did enable them to. And what I find sad about it, talking with these guys, is, my God, like, if I know other musicians will go, oh, so you were on a music competition show, that must mean you're naff. They are such great musicians. They're such wonderfully creative people. I've done this log interview with them. They're called Sons of Serendip. And it's such a shame that, because I did say to them, is this kind of in the musicians community, do you get looked down upon because you were on one of these shows? And they said, yes, all musicians look down upon us until they get an opportunity to be on one of those shows. And then
Yep. Oh, and yeah, look, at the risk of saying, we'll finish off in a moment because we do have to jump over to your channel. But my view on this is, like, if it's happening and if it's popular, use it, abuse it. Like, if you want to, I don't actually begrudge you for doing it. And if it gives you an opportunity, but I worry also that it's setting this expectation that it's going to make you a star and it's going to make you lots of money and get you a record deal and a contract and all this sort of thing. The sad reality is that about 98% of people that go on those shows don't get any of that, and the ones that are successful end up owing quite a bit of money back to the label they get signed with, because unless they're successful, they don't really go anywhere, which is sad.
Exactly. Yeah, those things. Yep. I've got to go over to my channel now. I'm
going to send you over. So I'm going to let Mike go, and what I'll do is I'll put here in the channel. I'll join him in just a couple of minutes, but jump over to that link as soon as we finish off here. So Mike, thank you for being my special guest. I'll finish off the show here, and I'll see you over on Creative Source in about 5 minutes' time.
Thank you for everyone who's been in the chat. I have been reading there, but we'll see you over there hopefully.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, Mike. See you for now.
Bye.
And thank you all for being here on this show. This is the all new and improved, our new version of the Creator Town Hall. As Mike mentioned there, he's got a live show right now, Fix My Mix. So I'll be the special guest over on his channel. Yeah, we're doing a big double header of live. So what you can do now is jump on over there. There it is, Fix My Mix number 14 over on Creative Source. Make sure you subscribe to Mike as well, because he's a good dude. We always have a great chat when we get together on these shows. Big thank you to BandLab, who have sponsored this show. Check out BandLab up the top there at studiolivetoday.com/BandLab. You can sign up for free. You can collaborate. You can create music. You can mix. You can master. And you can follow me in the link down below, as well as also check out my 4-part tutorial series where I talk about how to get started, record your guitars, your vocals, your loops, your instruments, how to mix, how to master, how to get it all done. Thanks everybody for being here on this show. As we say, please be kind to yourself. Please be kind to others. Keep creating, folks. And I'll see you next time, or in 5 minutes' time. If you're watching on the replay, link down in the description over on Mike's channel. I'll see you there real soon. Bye for now, folks. Ciao.